Welcome to Control System lecture series. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about some of the important MCQs on control systems. Coming to next one, by using RH stability criteria, we can find out the number of dash roots on S-plane. Options are right hand side, left hand side, both of the above and none of the above. Here RH stability criteria is the technique for finding the stability of a system. Okay, in this, by using the characteristic equation, we are going to find out the stability by using RH criteria. So RH criteria is a algebraic method, and in this the number of sign changes in the first column of RH table gives the number of right hand side roots. So by using RH criteria, we are going to find out the number of right hand side roots. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, RH stability criteria is dash domain technique. Options are frequency, time, S domain and all of the above. Here RH criteria is one of the technique for finding the stability of a system in time domain. So option B is the right answer. Okay, RH stability criteria is the time domain technique for finding the stability of a system. So option B is the right answer. Okay, next one is if the system is stable by producing an output signal with constant amplitude and constant frequency of oscillations for a bounded input, then it is known as dash stable system. Options are marginally stable, unstable, stable system and all of the above. These type of bits are very important in gate point of view. Here the system is stable by producing an output signal with constant amplitude as well as constant frequency of oscillations. Those type of systems are called marginally stable systems. Okay, here the system is stable by producing an output with constant amplitude and constant frequency of oscillations. Those type of systems are called marginally stable systems. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the necessary condition of RH criterion is that the coefficients of the characteristic polynomial should be, options are positive, negative, 0 and infinity. Here RH criteria is one of the time domain technique for finding the stability of a system. Okay, suppose consider this is the characteristic equation. In order to satisfy the necessary condition of characteristic equation, that is necessary condition of RH criteria, the coefficients of all the powers of S from highest power to lowest power should be positive. That is nothing but this is the S power n, A0 is the coefficient of S power n. Similarly A1, A2, okay, up to so on an. Okay, all these coefficients should be positive. Okay, if all the coefficients are positive, then only we are going to form the RS table in order to finding the stability of a system. So all the coefficients should be positive. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the equation of the row which is just above the row of zeros is called, options are auxiliary equation, characteristic equation, transfer function and system function. Okay, suppose consider this is the RS table. Okay, one of the row elements in the RS table are 0. Okay, okay, in this case we have to consider one equation which is above this 0 row equation. Okay, that equation is called auxiliary equation. That equation is called auxiliary equation, and this is the difficulty 2 in RS criteria. So the equation of the row which is just above the 0 row is called the auxiliary equation. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, the RS stability criteria for testing the stability of a system is, options are an algebraic method, a graphical method, both of the above and none of the above. Here RS criteria is the technique for finding the stability as well as number of right hand side roots of a given system. Okay, for finding the stability and number of right hand side roots by using RS stability criteria, we are going to consider the characteristic equation. By using characteristic equation, we are going to find out the stability. So RS stability criteria is an algebraic method. It is not a graphical method. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, root locus gives the locus of roots of options are characteristic equation, open loop transfer function, closed loop transfer function, and all of the above. Here root locus is the technique for finding the stability of a system. Okay, it is defined as the root locus is the locus of roots of a characteristic equation of closed loop transfer function in S-plane by changing the open loop gain from 0 to infinity. Here open loop gain we can represent it as k. By changing this k value from 0 to infinity, we are going to plot the locus of roots of a characteristic equation. So root locus gives the locus of roots of characteristic equation. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, the number of asymptotes of a root locus is equal to options are p minus z, z minus p, p and z. Here asymptote is nothing but it is a straight line on the S-plane which is starting from centroid. Suppose consider this point is a centroid on S-plane. Okay, these straight line. Okay, these straight lines are known as asymptotes. Here the number of asymptotes represents the difference between number of poles and number of zeros. Okay, the difference between number of poles and number of zeros represents the number of asymptotes on the S plane. Okay, that is option A is the right answer. Coming to next bit, the breakaway point exists in between dash. Options are two zeros, two poles, pole and zero, and two complex poles. Okay, in root locus technique, we are having the concept of breakaway point and break-in point. Here, breakaway point is exists in between two poles on the real axis. Similarly, the break-in point is exists in between two zeros on the real axis. Here breakaway point in between two poles on the real axis. So option B is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one. The transient response will be 0 during the steady state. Okay, options are false, true. Okay, that is very simple. Consider response of a second order system. Okay, up to this point is the transient response and this one is the steady state. Okay, at time t is equal to infinity, only we are going to get the steady state response. Transient response is 0. So the transient response will be 0 during steady state response. It's true. So option B is the right answer. This is the time domain response of a second order system. In this, on the x-axis we are going to consider time, on y-axis we are considering voltage or output, and this is the response of a second order system, and these are the time domain specifications. This is the 100% of response and this is the 50%. Here TD is the delay time, that is the time required by the response to reach from 0% to 50%. Okay, this duration is the delay time. Similarly, this is the rise time, time required by response to reach from 0 to 100%. That is the rise time. Similarly, peak time, time required by the response to reach its first peak. This is the first peak. This duration is called the peak time. Similarly, this is the settling time. Okay, this is settling time. That is the time required by the response to reach its final value within the specified band of tolerance. Okay, this is the final value with some amount of tolerance. This is settling time. And coming to maximum peak overshoot, the normalized difference between the first peak and steady value. Okay, this is the steady value and this is the first peak. This difference is called the maximum peak overshoot, and this represents the tolerance. Here tolerance value is from 2% to 5%. Okay, this is about the time domain specifications. Okay, these are some of the formulas related to time response of a second order system. First, we are going to consider transfer function of a second order system, that is given as C of S by R of S, that is given as omega n square by S square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. Here omega n represents the natural frequency and zeta represents the damping factor. and this is the output, and this is the input. Okay, this is the transfer function of a second order system. Similarly, we are going to consider damping ratio, that is zeta. Zeta is defined as the ratio of time constant of critical damping to the time constant of actual damping. Okay, here time constant of critical damping is given as 1 by omega n, and time constant of actual damping is given as 1 by zeta omega n. From that we are going to get the zeta, that is nothing but damping factor or damping ratio. Coming to formula for rise time, that is given as pi minus theta by omega n into square root of 1 minus zeta square. Similarly, we are going to consider formula for peak time, that is pi by omega n into square root of 1 minus zeta square. Then going for settling time, that is 4 by zeta omega n. Finally, we are going to consider maximum peak overshoot, that is MP is equal to e power minus zeta pi by square root of 1 minus zeta square. Okay, these are the some of the important formulas related to time response of a second order system. Based on above concept, now we are going to discuss some of the important MCQs on time domain response of second order system. Coming to first bit, the order of the system represents the number of dash of the system transfer function. Here options are zeros, poles, both zeros and poles, and none of the above. Here system transfer function or transfer function is defined as the ratio of Laplace transform of output of the system to the Laplace transform of input of the system by considering initial conditions are negligible. Here the poles of a system transfer function or transfer function represents the order of the system. For example, consider transfer function C of S by R of S. Okay. In this transfer function, this denominator term represents the characteristic equation, and the power of S represents the order of the system, and this order represents the poles. So for this bit the answer is poles. Coming to next bit, type of the system represents the number of dash present at the origin. Coming to options, zeros, poles, both zeros and poles, and none of the above. Coming to concept of type, type is defined as the number of poles present at the origin in S-plane. Okay, coming to concept of S-plane, this is the S-plane which is consisting of real axis and imaginary axis, and this is the origin. Okay, the number of poles present at this origin, that is known as the type of the system. So for this bit the option is B, that is poles. Coming to next bit, the type of the second order system is, options are type 2, type 1, type 0, type 4. Coming to concept of type, the number of poles present at the origin in the S-plane is known as type, and type is calculated only for open loop transfer function. It is not possible to calculate the type for a closed loop transfer function. I repeat, type is calculated for only open loop transfer function. It is not possible to calculate the type for a closed loop transfer function. If we consider the open loop transfer function for a second order system, that is this one, omega n square by s into s plus 2 zeta omega n. This is the formula for open loop transfer function for a second order system. In this represents the type of the system, means the power of this term represents the type of the system. Here the power of this term is 1. So the type of a second order system is 1. So option B is the right answer. Coming to next bit, the response and excitation of the system represents, options are input and output, output and input, both are outputs, both are inputs. Here response is nothing but output from the system, and excitation is nothing but input to the system. They are asking about response and excitation, means output and input. So option B is the right answer. Coming to next one, if the damping factor is less than 1, then the system is called, options are undamped system, underdamped system, overdamped system, critically damped system. Depending upon the damping factor value, we are going to classify the system as 4 types. That is, if the damping factor is equal to 0, that system is called the undamped system. If damping factor is less than 1, that is called the underdamped system. If damping factor is equal to 1, that system is called the critically damped system. And finally, damping factor is greater than 1. That system is called the overdamped system. In our question, the damping factor value is less than 1. That is the second option. Damping factor is less than 1. That is the underdamped system. So option B is the right answer. Coming to next one, time required by the response to reach from 0 to 50% of its final value is called, options are rise time, delay time, peak time and settling time. Okay, this is the response of a second order system. Consider this is the maximum value, that is 100%, and this is the 50%, and this is the response. Okay, time required by that response to reach from 0% to 50% is called the delay time. So delay time is defined as the time required by the response to reach from 0 to 50% of its final value. So in this, response is reached from 0 to 50%. So option B is the right answer. That is the delay time. Coming to next one, the rise time is counted as the time required by the response to reach from dash to dash of its final value. Options are 0 to 90%, 10 to 90%, 20 to 100%, 50 to 90%. Here there are two definitions for rise time depending upon the type of the system. If we consider type of the system is underdamped system, that time rise time is defined as time required by the response to reach from 0 to 100%. If the system is overdamped, then rise time is the time taken by the response to reach from 10 to 90%. In this bit, there is no concept of type of the system. Depending upon the options, we have to select the answer. Here there is no 0 to 100%, but there is 10 to 90%. So option B is the right answer for this bit. So rise time is the time taken by the response to reach from 10% to 90%. So the type of the system is overdamped system. So here option B is the right answer. Coming to next bit, the time required by the response to reach its first peak is called, options are rise time, delay time, peak time and settling time. Here peak time is defined as the time required by the response to reach its first peak. So option C is the right answer. So time required by the response to reach its first peak is known as peak time. Coming to next one, the normalized difference between first peak and steady state value of a response is called, options are rise time, delay time, peak time and maximum peak overshoot. Here the concept of maximum peak overshoot is given as the difference between magnitude of the highest peak of a time response and magnitude of its steady state value is nothing but maximum peak overshoot, and the formula for maximum peak overshoot is given as maximum percentage overshoot is equal to C of Tp minus C of infinity by C of infinity into 100. Okay, that is the formula for finding the maximum percentage overshoot. So for this bit, the option D is the right answer. That is maximum overshoot. Coming to next one, the time required by the response to reach and study within specified range of 2 to 5% of its final value. Options are rise time, delay time, peak time and settling time. Coming to concept of settling time, it is the time required for the response to become steady That is nothing but it is defined as the time required by the response to reach and study within specified range of tolerance band, that is 2 to 5 percentage of its final value. Here time required by the response to reach and study within specified range, that is nothing but settling time. So option D is the right answer. Coming to next one, the order of the control system is determined by the power of s in the dash of its transfer function. Options are denominator, numerator, both denominator and numerator, none of the above. Here this is the transfer function C of s by R of s. C of s represents the numerator. By equating numerator to 0, we are going to get the number of zeros of a system, and by equating the denominator, that is R of s is the denominator, by equating this denominator we are going to get the number of poles, and this number of poles represents the order of a system. So the order denominator represents the order of the control system. For example, consider transfer function of a second order system. Here this represents the number of poles. Here the number of poles are 2. This 2 represents the order of the system. So this is the transfer function of second order control system. So the denominator represents the order of the control system, means the power of s in the denominator represents the order of a system. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, in the transfer function of a second order system, zeta and omega n are called dash of the system. Options are damping ratio and natural frequency, damping ratio and undamped natural frequency, damping ratio and frequency, damping ratio and angular frequency. Consider the transfer function of second order system, that is C of s by R of s, that is given as omega n square by s square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square. In this omega n is called the natural frequency, and this zeta represents the damping factor or damping ratio. So zeta and omega n represents the damping ratio and natural frequency. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, while forming the transfer function, the initial conditions are negligible. Options are true or false. Coming to concept of transfer function, it is defined as the ratio of Laplace transform of output of the system to the Laplace transform of input of the system by considering initial conditions are negligible. I repeat, initial conditions are negligible. In our question, while forming the transfer function, the initial conditions are negligible. Exactly. So the option A is the right answer. That is true. Coming to next one, in the settling time, the tolerance percentage in the response of second order system is, options are 2 to 5 percentage, 4 to 5 percentage, 5 to 10 percentage, 3 to 4 percentage. Okay, for determining the tolerance percentage, first we have to consider the settling time definition, that is given as time required for a response to become steady, or time required by the response to reach and study within a specified range of 2 to 5 percentage of its final value. 2 to 5 percentage. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, the difference between actual output and desired output at the infinite range of time is called, options are steady state error, steady state value, peak overshoot and settling time. Coming to concept of steady state error, that is defined as the difference between actual output and desired output at the infinite range of time. Okay, the formula for steady state error is given as limit t tends to infinity r of t minus c of t. Here r of t is the actual output and c of t is the desired output. The difference between these two at infinite value of time is called the steady state error. So option A is the right answer. That's the steady state error. Coming to next one, the ratio of the time constant of a critical damping to that of actual damping is known as, options are damping ratio, damping frequency, damping time, frequency. Coming to concept of damping factor or damping ratio, that is defined as the ratio of time constant of critical damping to the actual damping is known as damping ratio. That is given as this one. Time constant of a critical damping to the time constant of actual damping. Time constant of critical damping is given as 1 by omega n, and time constant of actual damping is given as 1 by zeta omega n. From that we are going to get zeta. Here zeta is nothing but damping ratio. That is the ratio of time constant of a critical damping to the time constant of a actual damping is known as the damping ratio or damping factor. So option A is the right answer. Root locus is the dash domain technique. Options are frequency, time, both, and none of the above. Okay, coming to root locus is the graphical representation, okay, in the time domain for finding the stability of a system. Means by using root locus technique, we are going to find out the stability of a system in time domain. So option B is the right answer. Coming to next one, angle of departure is exist if complex dash are present. Options are poles, zeros, both poles and zeros, and none of the above. This bit is very important. That is angle of departure. Angle of departure is exist if complex poles are present. Similarly, we are having one more concept that is angle of arrival. Angle of arrival is exist if complex zeros are present. Okay, these 2 points are very important. So angle of departure is exist if complex poles are present. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, the angle of arrival is exist if complex dash are present. Options are poles, zeros, both poles and zeros, and none of the above. Okay, this is the one of the concept in root locus technique, that is angle of arrival as well as angle of departure. Here angle of departure is exist if complex poles are present. Okay, that is angle of departure is present if complex poles are present. Similarly, angle of arrival is exactly opposite to angle of departure. That is angle of arrival is present if complex zeros are present. Okay, if complex zeros are present, we are going to get the concept of angle of arrival. If complex poles are present, we are going to get angle of departure. Here angle of arrival, that is nothing but complex zeros. So option B is the right answer. Coming to next one, the deviation of the output of the control system from desired response during steady state is known as, options are steady state error, error, deviation, and static error. Okay, the difference between actual output and steady state output, that is the difference between actual response. Response is nothing but output. The difference between actual output and desired output is known as steady state error. Okay, that is the deviation of the output of a control system from desired response during steady state is known as steady state error. So option A is the right answer. Coming to next one, the system produces a bounded output for a given bounded input is, options are unstable, stable, marginally stable, and all of the above. Here bounded is nothing but finite. Okay, finite. The system produces a finite output for a given finite input is known as stable system. Okay, that is a system produces a bounded output for a given bounded input is known as stable system. Otherwise, it is known as the unstable system. So option B is the right answer. Coming to next one, if the system is stable for all the range of system components, okay, for all the range of system component values, then it is known as dash stable system. These type of bits are very important in gate point of view. Options are absolutely stable, unstable, marginally stable, and all of the above. Means here system is stable for all the range of system component values. Okay, those type of systems are called absolutely stable system. If the system is stable for certain values of system component values. Okay, if the system is stable for a certain range of system component values, that time the system is known as conditionally stable system. Okay, if the system is stable for all the range of system component values, that is absolutely stable system. For certain range of system component values, that is the conditionally stable system. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the error coefficient in the system due to step input is, options are velocity error coefficient, position error coefficient, impulse error coefficient, acceleration error coefficient. This bit is related to steady state error concept. In this we are going to get the error coefficients for different types of inputs. Okay, if the input is step, then the error coefficient is known as position error coefficient. Similarly, if the input is ramp, then the error coefficient is called velocity error coefficient. Similarly, if the input is parabolic, that time we are going to get the acceleration error coefficient. In this case, the input is step. So we are going to get the position error coefficient. So option B is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one. If P is equal to Z, then all the root locus branches starts at finite dash and end at finite dash. Options are open loop poles, open loop zeros, open loop zeros, open loop poles, open loop poles, open loop zeros. This concept is related to root locus concept. Here number of poles are is equal to number of zeros. Okay, then the root locus branches starts at the finite open loop poles and ends at the finite open loop zeros. Okay, and similarly, if P is greater than Z, means poles are greater than the zeros, then Z number of root locus branches starts at the finite open loop poles and ends at the finite open loop zeros. In this case, number of poles are is equal to number of zeros. So starts at the finite open loop poles and ends at the finite open loop zeros. So option A is the right answer. Okay, we have to remember these two conditions. These two conditions are very important. Okay, coming to next bit, the intersection point of asymptotes on the real axis is known as, options are centroid, center, origin, and all of the above. Here asymptotes are nothing but straight lines which are starting from the real axis, means one of the point on the real axis. Okay, this is our real axis and this is imaginary axis. Okay, asymptotes are the straight lines which are starting from the real axis at one point. Okay, that point is known as the centroid. Okay, this concept is related to root locus. And the formula for finding the centroid is summation of all the real parts of the open loop poles minus summation of all the real parts of the open loop zeros by number of poles minus number of zeros. Okay, this is the formula for finding centroid, and the intersection point is nothing but centroid, intersection point of asymptotes. Okay, this point is known as the centroid. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one. The formula for the angle of asymptotes theta is, options are theta is equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 by p minus z, 2q into 180 by p minus z, 2q plus 1 by p minus z, 2q plus 1 into 180 by p. Here asymptote is nothing but straight line which is starting from the real axis, means one of the point on the real axis. Okay, these straight lines starts from the real axis at certain angle. Okay, that angle is known as asymptotic angle. Okay, for finding asymptotic angles we are having one formula. That formula is equal to theta is equal to 2q plus 1 into 180 by p minus z. Here p is nothing but number of poles, z is nothing but number of zeros. Here q value depends upon the this difference between number of poles and zeros. That is, the range of Q is from 0 to, that is 0, 1 up to so on P minus Z minus 1. Okay, this is the range of Q in order to finding the angle of asymptotes. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next bit, the transfer function obtained by replacing S with j omega in the transfer function is called, options are sinusoidal transfer function, system transfer function and all of the above. Okay, this bit is related to frequency domain response. Okay, in this frequency domain response, the transfer function obtained by replacing S with j omega is known as sinusoidal transfer function. Okay, by replacing S with j omega in the system transfer function or transfer function is called the sinusoidal transfer function. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, there will be a dash point in between two open loop zeros. Okay, options are break in, break in and break away, and none of the above. Okay, this bit also related to root locus. Okay, if there exists a real access root locus branch between two open loop zeros, then there exists a break in point. Similarly, if there is a real access root locus branch in between two open loop poles, that time we'll get the concept of breakaway point. Okay, in between two zeros we are going to get the break-in point, in between two poles we are going to get the breakaway point. Okay, in this bit, in between two open loop zeros, okay, we are going to get the break-in point. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, breakaway and break-in points exist only on the real axis of root locus branches. Okay, options are false, true. Okay, we are having root locus concept on the S domain, that is S plane. Okay, this is our real axis and this is our imaginary axis. Here breakaway and break-in points exist only on real axis, only on real axis. So breakaway and break-in points exist only on the real axis. So that is the true. So option B is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the angle of departure and the angle of arrival can be calculated at complex conjugate poles and complex conjugate zeros respectively. Options are false, true. Okay, here angle of departure and angle of arrival is possible if complex poles and complex zeros are present in the given system. If complex poles are present, we are going to get the angle of departure. Similarly, if complex zeros are present, then we are going to get the angle of arrival. So it is a true. Option B is the right answer. Coming to next one, the formula for the angle of departure pi d is, options are pi d is equal to 180 minus pi, 180 plus pi, pi d is equal to pi, pi d is equal to 180. Here angle of departure and angle of arrival are the concepts in root locus. Okay, if complex poles are present, we are going to get the angle of departure. Complex zeros are present, we are going to get the angle of arrival. And the formula for finding angle of departure is pi d is equal to 180 minus pi. Here pi is nothing but the summation of angles of all the poles minus the summation of angles of all the zeros. So this is the formula for finding the angle of departure. That is pi d is equal to 180 minus pi. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the formula for the angle of arrival pi a is, okay, pi a is equal to 180 minus theta, 180 plus theta, pi a is equal to pi, and pi a is equal to 180. Here angle of arrival, okay, if complex zeros are present, we are going to get the concept of angle of arrival, and the formula for angle of arrival is pi a is equal to 180 plus pi. Okay, if we consider angle of departure, that is 180 minus pi. Here pi is same, that is pi is equal to summation of angles by all the poles minus summation of angles by all the zeros. So option B is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the transient response will be dash for large values of time t. Okay, options are infinity, 1, 0 and all of the above. Okay, if you consider any type of system, there are two types of responses. Okay, first one is the transient response and second one is the steady state response. Steady state response. Okay, for example, consider response of a second order system. Okay, this is the response of second order system. This is time. Okay, this response up to this point is the transient response. Later on we are going to get the steady state response. Okay, for time t is equal to infinity, the transient response becomes 0. Means in this period transient response is 0. Only we are going to get the steady state response. So transient response will be 0 for large values of time t. Okay, ideally at time t is equal to infinity, we are going to get the transient response is 0. But practically t is equal to 5 time constants. Okay, then we are going to get the transient response is 0. Okay, in this case we are going to consider ideal case, that is at time t is equal to infinity we are going to get the transient response is 0. So option C is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one, the response of the control system during transient state is known as, options are transient response, steady state response, both, that is response, and dynamic response. Okay, if we consider system, we are having two types of responses, transient and steady state response. Okay, this period, okay, this period is known as transient period, and the response during this transient period is known as the transient response. Okay, this is direct bit. The response of the control system during transient state is known as the transient response. So option A is the right answer. Okay, coming to next one. The response of the control system is the sum of, options are transient response, steady state response and steady state response, only response and dynamic response. Okay, if you consider any type of system, any type of control system, the total response is the summation of transient response and steady state response. So option A is the right answer.